I should be back on. Okay, here we go. I should be back on with everybody now. Susan's going to make sure that everything's working correctly. I'm going to go ahead and open up my PowerPoint again and see if we can get this ball rolling. Again, as I said earlier, we were on week 5, eat more, exercise more. We've done 4 weeks of eat less, exercise less. And that was centered obviously around 2 weeks, not 2 weeks, 2 meals rather of, okay, Susan gave me a thumbs up, says that everything's working fine now. We had a little technical difficulty there, so if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But anyway, like I said, we had 2 meals a day of protein shake, 1 whole food meal. For some people, they were replacing one of their protein shakes with some protein, whether it be chicken, fish, turkey, beef, and green vegetable, green salad. And everything was working out great for them. Again, with the check down that we go through, if your hunger, your energy, and cravings weren't being satisfied with that meal, we all know that by this point we have to add some fat to the meal. If that doesn't work, we take the fat out, we add in the carbohydrate. If that's still not working, we add back the fat. And if that's not working, we need to add more snacks, because basically if your hunger and your energy and your cravings are not in line, you're not going to have the motivation and or the energy to do the workouts, and something's wrong. So as we say every week, Susan and I are here to coach you. So if you're having difficulties and you're not letting us know, we can't help you. I'm assuming that everyone's doing really well, moving ahead. Again, this Friday, it would be really great if everyone took their measurements and went to the body shape calculator and was finding out what the waist to hip ratio is and chest to waist ratio is for the men. And we can make sure that people are in the process of accomplishing. Guys, we're only 5 weeks into a 12-week program. You know, if something's not right, now's the time to try to get everyone back on track. Okay. Later tonight, you're going to get a video from me. And in the video, it's very specific, the difference between the traditional workouts and the metabolic workouts. We're going to start adding metabolic workouts. We're also going to start adding in burst training for cardio. And we're going to back our walking down to twice a week. I'll go through all of this in detail as we get through the program tonight. But know that now we're getting to a point where we're going to start to eat more. So we got to up the exercise more. Now, I'll say this and then I'll move on. Some of you, myself included, tend to do better on an eat less, exercise less model. Give the eat more, exercise more the week. Next week, we're going to start to make some decisions as to what people are going to do. And I will give you a lot of options in the week 6 webinar. But for this week, and some of you have been waiting for these 4 weeks to pass by so you can start to eat a little bit more, now's your chance. But this does not mean that we abandon the principles of a healthy diet. Doesn't mean we start throwing bread and pasta and cereal into our diet. That's not what eat more means. Eat more means we're going to eat more calories in the meals. We're going to start to eat a little more frequently. We're going to add snacks in. But in order to eat that way, the exercise has to be part and parcel of the program. So let's get right into it. This is your brain. And in the brain, we have the hypothalamus. Now, we mentioned a couple weeks ago that the hypothalamus pretty much controls all the different systems of the body. It controls your temperature, controls your breathing, controls your heart rate. And one of the other things it controls is your weight regulating mechanism, how easy it is for you to lose weight and how much easy it is for you to gain weight. The 4 things that manipulate the weight regulating mechanism for the most part is balanced blood sugar, stress, food chemicals, and the exercise that we do. So these are all important components. Now, from the hypothalamus, it releases hormones. And hormones, basically, what they do is they have target tissues and they tell that tissue what to do. So, excuse me. So for the hypothalamus to release thyroxine, or I'm sorry, not thyroxine, thyroid stimulating hormone that travels to your thyroid, and it causes the thyroid to produce T4, which of course becomes active T3 in the body, and it affects its target tissue is the mitochondria of your cells. And you might remember the mitochondria, the mighty mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. It's the engine of the cell. Okay, and there's a lot that goes into it, but just know that without T3 and some other things like coenzyme Q10, we were talking about that earlier with some clients, that the mitochondria doesn't function. If the mitochondria doesn't function, it's virtually impossible to lose weight, and it's virtually impossible to stay healthy. So from that, what are some other things that affect the hypothalamus? We talked about stress, dieting, exercise, cold, heat, illness, toxicity, right? And again, what we talk about the thyroid's, the target tissue of the thyroid stimulating hormone. We also have the adrenal glands, and you notice the arrows go both ways. So the hypothalamus, again, is going to tell the adrenals to release their hormones, which is your adrenaline, your norepinephrine, epinephrine. These are the things, the fight or flight hormones. But the adrenals also send information up to the brain and the hypothalamus. And remember, the adrenal glands need sugar to function. So if your blood sugar starts to run too low, the adrenal glands can call up to the brain and say, hey, listen, I don't have enough sugar to function. You, in turn, need to tell the thyroid to stop producing T4 because we have to slow the system down. So the arrows go both ways. The other things that come into play are the gonads, and that is where the estrogen and testosterone is going to be secreted, okay? So again, the estrogen and testosterone, not only do they help with weight loss and weight gain, but they certainly also are tissue repair hormones as well. So there's a lot of interplay you can see between the thyroid, the adrenals, and the gonads, and the brain. Okay, so what kind of messes up the system, so to say? Well, stress. Stress has a very negative impact on all these systems. So again, let's talk about the stress with the adrenal glands, okay? If the adrenal glands are being overly stressed and they cannot function, it's going to cause a negative feedback up to the brain, and the brain is going to turn around and tell the hypothalamus to stop making thyroid stimulating hormone. The thyroid production starts to slow down, and next thing you know, it's you have all the signs and symptoms of things like hypothyroidism, and that's the fatigue, and that's the hair and the skin and the nails start to get very weak, and you have no energy, and you start to gain weight. Okay. All right, so let's go through some things real quick that we've talked about. You know, at this point, we know that by lowering your calories, eating less, and exercising more to lose weight, to get a balanced metabolism, we know that doesn't work, right? We all know that you first have to balance out your metabolism, balance out your blood sugar, get your hormones in check. Then your body will naturally require less calories. You'll have less hunger. You'll have higher energy, and you'll have no cravings. And that's the way to go about losing weight. Again, we're not a calculator. We're not a bank. We're a thermostat, right? So our body reads what is going on in its environment, and then it makes adjustments from there. So to say that we're going to eat less calories, we're going to eat less, we're going to exercise more, because if I put less money in the bank, that's how it's going to work. We all know that by now that's not the way it works. We want to make sure your heck is in check. You have low hunger, low cravings, high energy, gives you the motivation and gives you the ability to exercise hard, to have good energy, to enjoy your life, and to lose weight and stay healthy. Okay, again, with the eat less, exercise more model, we know that we significantly impact hunger and cravings, have low energy. We've already demonstrated that when you eat less and exercise more, your body will, we say if you push, your body will push back. So your metabolic rate will drop, and of course, that goes to the weight gain and overcompensation. So 2 things required for lasting fat loss: lower calories, and a balanced metabolism. And how do we do that? Well, we just went through 4 weeks of eat less, exercise less. Now we're going to start to investigate more of the eat more, exercise more model. So if you look to the top right of this picture, you're going to see eat more, exercise more. We're going to continue to sustain fat loss. Excuse me, I'm going to have a drink. But our primary goal over the next week is to start to stimulate more muscle gain or lean tissue gain. Now, what did we talk about the very first week? We talked about metabolic multitasking and how the body does not or cannot both lose weight and gain lean mass at the same time. Well, we've started for the first 4 weeks a fat loss metabolism. We're still going to be able to enjoy that. It's kind of like a car. You took the foot off the gas and the car's still rolling. So we're still going to continue to lose a little bit of stored body fat because we put our metabolism in that line. But now we're going to stimulate the muscle to grow by feeding it and working it. And the body, what does the body do? It responds to that stress by getting thicker and stronger and increasing the work capacity of the muscle, the strength and the ability for the muscle to perform work over a prolonged period of time. So here's the plan. We're ditching the eat less, exercise less. We've done that for 4 weeks. And now we're going to start the eat more, exercise more for the next week. And then most of us are going to go back to eat less, exercise less the following week. We're going to give you some options, so to say, in week 6. We're going to talk about how some people use eat less, exercise less during the week, and they do eat more, exercise more on the weekends. But I don't want to get the cart before the horse again. I said that earlier. Our focus this week is to eat more, exercise more. And we're going to use the AIM process, looking at making the adjustments and modifying. You're going to analyze, investigate. You're going to tweak and adjust your program. In the eat more, exercise more model, and for a lot of us, we're really looking forward to this because we really get to eat again. You're going to do 3, 2, and 2. Let's talk about the food first. 3 meals per day, 3 parts vegetable, 2 parts protein, and starch. We're going to start putting starch in at every meal. So what does that mean in the morning? It could be oatmeal. It could be oat bran. It could be some chopped up potatoes with your protein, right? Lunchtime, what's a good starch at lunchtime? Again, sweet potato, brown rice, white potato, quinoa, those type of starches. Doesn't mean we put bread back in. Remember, we're still trying to stay away from gluten and wheat. Eating more frequently aids in recovery from the exercise. In addition, we're going to have, to those 3 meals, we're going to have 2 protein snacks. That could be a 20 to 50 grams protein shake. It could be Quest bars. I know a lot of people are using Quest bars. It could be rolled up turkey with in lettuce or celery. There's a lot of things we can do. Now, the 2 is 2 times starch at the first meal after intense exercise. So let's say you had a really, really good workout in the morning and you come back for your next meal, which is lunch. You can add more starch into that meal, and that increases recovery and helps with muscle gain. But before I move to the next page, let's stop and talk about this real quick. If your hunger and your energy and your cravings are in a really good place and you're 3-4 days into this, and all of a sudden you're putting weight back on, your clothes don't fit you comfortably, and you sense that there's too much food going into the diet, as a food detective, you need to reach out to Susan and I and ask for help, or you need to realize that maybe you're adding too much starch into your meals. Maybe you're not exercising as hard as you think you are, and you're not able to add that much food back in only because the level of exercise, even though you think it's intense, you're creating an imbalance. Okay. This is where the coaching comes in. This is where Susan and I really are here to help you, to make these changes. Okay, so here's your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner plate. Half the plate is vegetables, a quarter of the plate is lean protein, and then you have your starch and your fat. Now, healthy fats kind of go along with the protein. It could be grass-fed beef, it could be wild-caught fish. It's all right to use a little olive oil in your salad dressing, or if you want to have a little avocado in your salad, that's fine. Again, it's all about monitoring where you're at, okay, and using some discretion in what we're doing. This is something that you need to, I can't give you exact numbers. You have to see how you're doing. You have to use the AIM process in order to determine, am I still losing stored body fat? Am I increasing my level of activity? And am I getting enough protein in? And what's my heck like? My hunger and my energy and my cravings, are they still good? Again, for most of us, we still want to be in a fat-burning metabolism. We still want to be losing stored body fat. We want to see changes in body shape. We want to get better numbers with our waist to hip ratio, our chest to waist ratio. We want our clothes to start fitting us even better than they fit us before. Now, the scale can be a little bit of a liar. Okay, right now, I'm in this with you guys, and that scale stopped moving for me, but I'll tell you, my workouts have gotten tremendous. I feel much stronger. I went, most of you, if you read Facebook, you saw that I had lifted some dumbbells the other day doing bench presses that I haven't lifted in quite a long time. So I had no joint pain, had good energy, had good strength. The scale's not moving for me, but I'm telling you, I'm wearing a pair of blue jeans right now. For me, they're a size 36 waist, and I feel really good. Okay, and I'm moving in the right direction. So these are all the things that you have to determine whether you're moving in the right direction or not. Okay. Let's talk about the exercise. Now, as I said earlier, you're going to get a video tonight after this presentation where you're going to see the difference between a traditional weight training workout, okay, and a metabolic chain workout. I also have a video, I'm going to make sure Susan gets this out to you, of what burst training looks like. Burst training can be used as one of your two short, intense interval workouts, okay, or your metabolic chain workout. So let me go back to the top because I just jumped around. So 3-2-2, 3 traditional weight training workouts, okay, 4 sets of 10 repetitions using a 10 RM. 10 RM, all that means is that you're choosing a weight that you can lift at least 8 times, but no more than 12. But 10 would be a really good number, okay? And why do we want to go a little heavier in the traditional workouts? We want to engage as much lean mass in the activity as possible. So we build tone, we build definition, and we also cause that breathless and burning in the muscle to trigger a lactic acid response. By getting a lactic acid response, we get the release of all the good healing compounds, testosterone, human growth hormone, other tissue repair hormones. Okay, the 4 areas I want you to concentrate on, these are on your video. You're going to get, like I said, after the presentation tonight, squats or a leg press, a chest press, it could be a bench press, it could be a push-up, back, it could be a rowing motion, which you're going to see tonight, or it could be a lat pull down. Could be shoulders, could be an overhead press, or it could be a high pulse. Some of us have difficulty doing anything overhead, so we don't want to aggravate a shoulder. The goal of this is to gain muscle, okay? Or you can do metabolic chains with 10 rep max per set. So in other words, you can do a little bit of metabolic chain workouts, but again, you still want to go with a heavier weight. Now, when you see me do the video later tonight, you're going to notice that I'm not capping it at 10. I'm doing something different. I'm doing a metabolic chain where we're doing many more than just 10 repetitions. I'm also incorporating more whole body in these metabolic chain workouts. But again, I have a ton of this stuff in RX Studio. But if you have questions or concerns, we can talk this out. I don't want to spend any more time on that. Again, the 2 short, intense intervals or metabolic conditioning to help with the fat burning, and that could be CrossFit. Some people are on this call who are not studio clients with mine. They're working out outside of my studio, and they're involved in CrossFit. They could be doing interval training. ME stands for metabolic effect, Spark, and metabolic chain workouts. And we're also keeping the walking, but we're going to do 1 hour of walking twice a week. Sorry, guys, I just needed a quick drink. So the workouts used in the Eat More, Exercise More model are fast-paced. You're going to learn multiple workouts and the best approach to try to lose stored body fat and build lean muscle mass. We're really going to nail it this week. So here is a metabolic chain. 4 exercises, 4 different body parts. If you look at the very top, you have a shoulder press. The next one down is a squat. The next one down is a row, and the next one is a push-up. Okay, so it says here, directions. Do 1 of each move the first time down the chain. On each repeat the chain, you add 1 more rep until you get to 5. So what does that mean? You do 1 shoulder press, you do 1 squat, you do 1 row, you do 1 push-up. Go back to the top. 2 shoulder presses, 2 squats, 2 rows, 2 push-ups. Go to the top. 3 shoulder presses, 3 squats, 3 rows, 3 bench presses or push-ups. Go back to the top. 4 shoulder presses, 4 squats, 4 rows, 4 push-ups. Go back to the top. 5 shoulder presses, 5 squats, 5 rows, 5 push-ups, and then go back to 1. And what do? You do that for 20 minutes. How do you know when to rest? You go until you can't. In other words, you're too tired, you've hit temporary muscle failure, and then you begin as soon as you feel like you can. Okay, so you hear us say, go until you can't, rest until you can. I'm not trying to get you to quit. I'm trying to force you to rest. So how much weight do you want to use when you're doing these? Okay, you still want to try to use that 10 rep max on the weakest movement. So let's say I can do 10 shoulder presses with 20 pounds. Well, that's what I'm going to use on this thing. I'm going to use 20 pounds. Let's say I could do the same thing with the squats. Okay. What this is really teaching you is to try to keep the same weight in your hands the whole time, so you're not switching weights out, which is fine. Okay. The goal of this is you're just going to keep moving for 20 minutes. There's no rest. In the traditional workouts, the ones that you do, you're going to take a minute rest between each set that you do. And again, when you see the video tonight, it's going to make a whole lot more sense. Okay. Okay, so what about the AIM process again? We still want to use the AIM process to make sure that we're doing the right thing. We're going to assess. We're going to look at your hunger, your energy, and your cravings. You know, are they in check? Is your body shape changing? Are your clothes fitting you better? Is your waist getting smaller? If you're a guy, is your what's the ratio between the waist and the chest? Again, we're using the metabolic effect body shape calculator. Women more the waist to hip ratio. What's changing? What's happening? And how are we going to modify it? What else? What do we have to do differently? Again, keeping your heck in check in this whole process is critical. Okay, I don't want your hunger going greater than 5. I don't want your energy dropping lower than 6. And I want to keep those cravings at 5 or less. What are we assessing? Is your heck in check? Some people are still doing labs. They're getting their blood work drawn. What's your body composition? What's your percent body fat? Again, the 4 scenarios, I've talked to this to nauseam. We'll go through them again just to make sure everyone's on the same page. What are we going to modify? We're going to modify protein, fiber, and water to control heck. Excuse me. And we're going to adjust carbs and fat to help with fat loss. I've been up since 6 o'clock this morning training and yelling at my clients, so my voice is starting to go. So we're just going to keep picking this up. How do we get our heck in check, guys? We all know this. Making sure you have adequate sources of protein, fiber, and water in your meals. If that's not working, we're going to add 10 grams of fat. Could be a half of avocado, could be a tablespoon of olive oil in a salad. It could be an ounce of nuts. That's not working. Take the fat out, add your starch in. That could be half your sweet potato, half a cup of brown rice. That's still not working. Add the fat back in. And if that's still not working, protein snacks, half of a protein shake, half of a nutrition bar, some rolled up turkey with some lettuce. Okay. And how do we really measure fat loss? We go to the metaboliceffect.com ME shape calculator. Everyone has that link. Susan sent it out. Again, you know where to measure. This is in your quick start guide, as a matter of fact. Okay, so now we're going to eat more, exercise more, and you're not losing weight. Identify how much starch you're putting in your meals and start to cut your starches back. Okay, if that doesn't work, you're still not losing weight, try moving your starch to your evening meal. So go back into, maybe you can keep fat, protein, fiber, and water in breakfast and lunch. Maybe you need to cut back your starch, or pick that workout that you're going to do and eat your starch after your workout. Cut back on fat. Eat less frequently. Maybe you don't need two snacks in addition to your 3 whole food meals. And look for those trigger foods. Sometimes, guys, I'm going to tell you something. You start adding food back in that you maybe haven't had in 4 weeks, and all of a sudden you're eating it, and you can't control it. Maybe you haven't had brown rice in 4 weeks, and all of a sudden you got a little brown rice with a little bit of whatever you put on it, and all of a sudden, instead of stopping at a half a cup, you're eating 2 cups. You got to find those trigger foods and cut them out. Okay, and start monitoring your calories a little closer. That's if you're not losing weight. Again, structured flexibility. There is not a hard set rule on this. I'm teaching you guys how to fish. I'm not giving you fish. Okay, I've given you a lot of tools. And again, you could be like the football player that's on the field, like the quarterback. He's out there doing the job, but who's helping him to accomplish his goals is his coach. And I don't know if you know this or not, but quarterbacks have a microphone or a speaker in their helmets, and the coach tells them what play to run next, and he either gives them a thumbs up, shakes his head, whatever. That quarterback has the opportunity to change the play, but the coach is giving him guidance, giving him leadership. Okay, so allow Susan and I to do that for you. Okay, again, if your heck's in check and you're losing weight, well, if that's the case, don't change a thing. Keep doing what you're doing. If your heck is in check, but you're not losing weight, or you're gaining weight, again, we just talked about this. Cut the starch back at the meals. Move the starch to 1 meal. Remember, we talked about this earlier, and it didn't really make much sense. Well, now that we're in an eat more, exercise more model, it makes a lot of sense, because now we're not just having starch at nighttime. We're having starch at every meal, right? We're having starch at breakfast, starch at lunch, starch at dinner, because we're exercising more. But all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, I just put on 3 pounds in 2 days. Well, cut back on some of the starch. Instead of going with a whole cup of brown rice, go with a half a cup of brown rice. Instead of having this big giant sweet potato, have a small sweet potato. Cut back on fat. That means take the salad dressing and start being a little mindful of how much oil you're putting in your salad. Don't go from having a little balsamic vinegar and a little olive oil, in a shaker bottle. Don't start throwing blue cheese dressing on your salad, okay? Really high in fat. Eat less frequently. Maybe you don't need 2 protein snacks in addition to your 3 whole food meals. Again, search for those trigger foods, guys. If something's tripping you up, it's better to get rid of it and find something else than to try to minimize the amount of that food that you're eating, because sometimes people, I'm telling you, there's no way at this juncture in time that they can just have a little bit and get away with it. They'll start eating 1 cup, 2 cups of it. Okay, I've seen it a million times. I've been there myself. And start monitoring your calories. Okay, your HEC is not in check, but you're losing weight. We know you can't sustain that, because if your hunger is going through the roof, your cravings are going through the roof, and you have no energy, you're not going to be able to do the exercise, and you're not going to sustain your fat loss. So again, start adding protein, fiber, and water into those meals. That's not working, add more fat. That's still not working, add starch and take the fat out. Still not working, put the starch and the fat in the meal. And again, now we're allowing you to have those 1 or 2 extra snacks during the day. Okay, HEC is not in check and you're not losing weight. Okay, well, you got to do all the above. Making sure you get enough protein, fiber, and water. People sometimes they forget, what's the fiber again? I can't remember what the fiber is. The fiber is all that good green plant food: broccoli, kale, spinach, cauliflower, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, green beans. Guys, you can eat that stuff till it's coming out your ears and you're not going to gain weight. It's just no way. If your whole diet was protein, fiber, and water, nobody would have a weight problem. The problems come in with the overabundance of carbohydrate and fat. Okay. Again, make sure you're cutting the starch back at your meals. I pretty much covered all of this, 3-4 times now. So somebody you're sitting back going, okay, Mike, I got it. Can we move on? Okay. And that is all we have for the night. I'm going into notes for next week. So I'm actually going to jump out of here. Whoa. And I'm going to jump back into here. And Susan put the video in for tonight. I'm just going to run it. And I'm actually going to step out of the room, guys, and check with Susan to make sure everybody can hear this. All right, guys, I just checked. It's not playing for you guys. It's playing for me, but it's not playing for you. All right, so I'm back. I'm back with everybody now. And I'm going to go there now. All right. Give me a second. Okay, so the video didn't run, but as I said, everyone's going to get it sent to their email, so everyone will be able to see it. If there's any questions, you can type them into your chat box. Oh. Okay, Susan's telling me that it's playing, but it's playing in the corner of your screen. Yeah, and that's too small, guys. I'm going to send it out to you, so there'll be no question as to what we're doing. And it's pretty self-explanatory. I really took my time and tried to be very thorough with it. My voice is shot. I got no questions. So if you have questions, I will be on Facebook for the next couple, maybe half hour or so. I'm going to grab a little dinner because I haven't eaten dinner yet. But I will be here to answer questions. Next week, we're going to really take it up a notch. I'm going to give you guys a lot of options on what you can do to really facilitate this program in a great way. Again, you'll get the recording of the entire program tomorrow morning in your inbox of your email. So if you have any questions or concerns, please make sure you address them to me, and have a great night, and I'll see everyone real soon. Bye-bye.